Robin and I are here today because we thought it'd be fun to talk about some of the things people are experiencing since the most recent solar eclipse. So welcome. I think Robin wants to say a few words before we get started.
Yeah, hello everyone. You don't get to hear from me very often. Often I'm in the channeling state, and I thought I would just give you Robin's perspective on what's going on. And I don't know if it's fun, Heidi, but it's certainly bringing up some emotions or things within me that I had thought maybe I had transcended or gotten over. But it almost seems as though they've come knocking again and are even taunting me. We're in here just to have a life experience or something happen that I'm called forth, and I'll be back out to remind you through suffering what it is that you're still hanging on to. So I noticed right away after the solar eclipse that there was a stimulation of a lack of confidence, which I've struggled with before. There was some anxiety, a little bit of irritation, quicker than what I would normally get irritated by, just feeling a little bit edgy in my experience. And I started to question that. And when I do have a question formed within me, that's when the channeling experience really kicks in, and the flow of communication or the answer comes to that question. And so what came to me in that moment was that prior to the solar eclipse, I would have an experience. Let's just say maybe I did something that I judged in my work that I didn't feel that I liked the way that it turned out. And so I would use that situation as an excuse for not feeling confidence, and then feel like there's a reason for it. And maybe if I had anxiety, maybe I would have something that I had on my calendar to do that I hadn't done before, and I would start to get anxious about it, and then I would blame the event on the calendar as the reason I was feeling anxiety. What you're going to find now is, and now that the solar eclipse has occurred, it's almost like the universe has stepped in place of just us, and it's going to stimulate you without those experiences. So I would be feeling not confident, I would be feeling anxiety, and I would be feeling quickly irritated about things, but I had no situation. I had nothing that I could pin it on going on in my life. And that's when the group answered me that, yeah, that in fact is what's going on. So most humans are probably going to notice that they're going to become stimulated, and they're not going to have a circumstance or situation anymore to blame it on. They're going to be feeling these feelings, and wondering why. It's going to be a confusing time. And so I want to maybe channel a little bit about that, so that people can understand that that confusion in fact is coming because something outside of you is working alongside of you. And even people who are not on a spiritual path are going to become very stimulated, because we can't take these third dimensional emotions that are causing suffering with us into the five-dimensional creation in joy and happiness. They just don't vibrate at the same rate. And therefore, there's going to be a lot of discomfort for those of us that are hanging on to some things and perhaps haven't transcended that energy. So I believe Heidi has some questions that we have come up with to pose to the group. So at this time, I'll let them come in and shed a little bit more light on what exactly is going on.
All right. And before I get to the questions, I also wanted to say I have experienced that feeling with just kind of seemingly out of the blue, where all of a sudden one day I'm feeling really good and then nothing changes, and the next day I don't feel really good. And I think, what the hell just happened? The other thing is, and we're going to probably get into it as we talk, is Robin and I were speaking last week about I never get headaches. She never gets headaches. Her husband never gets headaches. And around the same time, we woke up in the night with just the worst headache in the back of our head, about a week after the eclipse. So we'll let Athena weigh in on that, because it was actually scary for me, because it was so bad and I never get headaches, that I felt like there was something seriously wrong to be woke up to that kind of pain. So, well, maybe that's a good word to start before we get into the other questions. Let's talk about this. We had physical pain, Robin, me, and
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah. Well, whenever you have physical pain, Heidi, you know, in fact, that something is coming up that is opposite in the way that it vibrates than what's coming in. Yeah. So when a human experiences a lot of pain in their body, it's because there's a resistance or something within them that's preventing the divine flow from coming in. Yeah. And so this immediate change or shift in the planet after this solar eclipse allowed a lot of high vibration energy to enter the plane all at once. And so as a human starts to try to process that or match that, let's use that term, if they have some negativities within them, it creates a great pressure or something that can be felt in other bodily pain. Some people might feel it in other areas, but headaches were quite common. And Robin right away Googled it because she thought it was quite uncanny that all three of you had the same headache in the back of your head around the same time, only to find out that it was all over the internet that many were reporting the same symptoms or condition. And we would say it's from a pressure, from a rate of vibration that is trying to enter you, and then some held emotion or lower tone emotions that are preventing that from actually occurring.
All right, thank you. So besides physical pain or headaches, what will people notice since this solar eclipse occurred? Probably almost getting on to 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah. Well, as Robin noticed, every time she has a feeling of negativity, her attention is piqued, and she tries to pin it to something, and she can't. It's really odd, she said. Normally, you always have a circumstance or situation or something going on in your life that will match what it is you are feeling. That's not happening right now. We're not saying it's never going to happen for someone that is having a situation or circumstance, but what people are going to find is oftentimes they're not. There's nothing going on in their life, and they're feeling the feelings, such as Robin described prior to us beginning here today. So what can you do? Just like anything else that we have taught, when you are observing yourself as a human and you observe something that you don't like the look of, you have to move to appreciation and gratitude first and foremost for even noticing the behavior, noticing the feeling. And this is what we would like you to do in this situation as well. I am noticing the bad feeling that I call it of anxiety. I'm noticing the negativity of irritation or anxiety or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever comes up in you. And so you kind of notice it, and then you move to being grateful and appreciative rather than this state of confusion, the state of frustration, or a state of even trying to get rid of it. You talked a little bit, Heidi, about wondering why do I feel good today and not good tomorrow? Yeah, these types of things. As you put that kind of pressure on yourself to feel different than what you are feeling, it is not a good way to get the feeling to release from the energy center. So the best thing that you can do is move to the honorment of what is felt. Obviously, I have something within me that's being stimulated by this new energy that has entered the plane. And I'm just going to observe myself in it. And I'm going to know that I had experiences in my life of which that emotion came forward in service to me. That's why they come forward. They're not bad emotions. They are expressing to the divine that I am in something right now and I have a preference and I would like you to form it for me. That's what your emotions are doing. And so it isn't the negativity, is it, that you think it is? Yeah. So in this way, if you acknowledge what is felt and then move to the understanding that there isn't necessarily a situation or circumstance, and that this is just coming up for healing. We would also like to tell you that those of you that are on a spiritual path may be doing lineage healing. You may be actually having emotions come to you that aren't even from you. They might be from your mother, from her mother's mother, or so on the way back. This is the kind of work or processing that a human does in the awakening of humanity. So we don't really need to know whether it was ours, whether it was someone else. We just have to validate. I'm having something that feels like this. Yeah. And I know that it is valid. It is either mine or someone else's, and it does not matter. And I am going to love myself for observing what I am feeling right now and know that it is a valid feeling. Someone's life experience or my own has caused this feeling to come forward. And therefore, I'm going to be grateful and appreciative in my view of it. And this way, give the human an opportunity to process that energy where perhaps someone else wasn't able to.
Right. Yeah. So how long can we expect to be going through this process that started to peak at the eclipse time?
Yeah. Well, personally, on a personal level, you can expect to be going on it as long as you have negativity within you that is not matching the fifth dimensional plane. Yeah. And so that's going to kind of come and go. What's going to happen is you're going to get very hypersensitive, very knowing of how you feel, and therefore move into this practice that we just described to you and transmute energy in a way that the universe has been doing it for you all along. Only you personally are now doing it for yourself, you see. As you felt something before and you blamed it on a situation and you sent it out to the universe, it would reach that vibrational signal, and it would transmute it to a preference. Yeah. And so now you're going to have the opportunity to receive your own signal and immediately move to processing that energy. Yes.
Okay. So what about people who have maybe no concept of this, no concept of the solar eclipse, not on a spiritual path, but they are having some effects that they're unaware of?
Well,
during this time?
everyone at some point or place in their experience was unknowing. They had to learn this process. And how did they learn it? By suffering. Yeah. They had enough of what they felt and enough of what was going in their life that was not their preferred feeling, that they started to wonder, how can I get a better life? This doesn't feel good to me. I'm not happy or satisfied where I am. As that signal goes out to the universe, it provides an opportunity, a connection. Maybe it's a book that someone wrote. Maybe it's a meeting with us. Maybe it's a meeting with any channel. But the universe will provide that opportunity based on the human feeling what it is that they are going through. And eventually they will come to the place or point where they begin to realize that they create their own experience, and they will go down the path that every one of you have gone down that are on a spiritual journey, and they will be no different in that regard. So basically, the universe is now taking care of those that perhaps were asleep or not knowing what was going on. And through that stimulation, it is going to accelerate the negativities that they are holding, and therefore they will no longer be able to ignore them. As they are not able to ignore them, they will begin to send out a feeling of dissatisfaction, and then the universe will do its best to try to satisfy an avenue where they can actually get the information of which they can reach a satisfying life through.
Okay. So can you explain what's happening as the Earth's vibration is accelerating, how that's similar to a Kundalini awakening and how we can expect more awakenings because of this?
Yeah. When a human has a Kundalini awakening, it's what we work on with people in sessions and in the activations that we do twice monthly on our website. What happens is that energy stimulates or makes a recognition to you of what you hold within you that is preventing you from your divine flow or your connection to what you are wanting in flow. And so that energy works its way through the system in many different ways, sometimes through tremors, through shaking, through all different avenues that it takes. And those are also listed on our website. Yeah, you can read more about it and other places as well. And so what the earth is doing, it's almost as though it has been upgraded and that the energy is now, that same energy is going through the entire plane at one time. And so it creates a stimulation to the energetic field of all humans. Even the ones that are presently not maybe on a spiritual path. And so as the energy, the high vibration starts to hit those energy centers, it starts to rattle them. Yeah. And then when they are rattled, an expression starts to come that reveals what's held within. That's what actually happens. And so it is the same type of energy that you yourself can release into your own human vessel for your spiritual development. But now the universe is reaching out or into those that perhaps have not willingly taken that path and inviting them to it, you see.
Okay. I just found this interesting. As you were speaking, I was reminded, somewhere I read that a lot of like movies and TVs and programming now, they have many shows have like spiritual connotation in them or some glimpses of what maybe the reality is outside of this reality. And one in particular that I'm thinking of is a show, I think it was on Netflix. I cannot remember the name of it, but these people were in like a simulation. They were on a ship and they were going through their thing. And every time they were trying to get off the ship before it crashed or whatever, they would find that they would forget and they would be right back in the simulation going through the whole same process again. And when you speak about these energy upgrades, that show and what you're saying kind of reminds me of, you have your computer and there's a Windows update. And, everybody that has a computer that has Windows downloads this update and the systems get updated to that new operating system. And I kind of feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this eclipse and what's being brought into the human field is sort of like a software update to upgrade humanity to a new level that we're now able to experience. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely, it would be accurate. You are connected to the universe and to the world as a whole. And so when these upgrades happen in the planet, you are connected to them and it is activated in you through your DNA or what it is you are carrying. Much of the awakening that is unfolding that humans feel that they are doing by themselves or that they have worked at is actually just a natural unfolding that is coming through that DNA that is now being awakened or woken up within them, you see.
Yeah, and I know in the past you've mentioned, that you soothe your human, and it's kind of like moving through from childhood to adulthood, that it doesn't happen immediately, but all of a sudden one day you get there.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll finish my
Sorry,
thought.
we get the downloads. Sorry, Heidi. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But one of the things that we want to mention is that when you become the closest to the stimulation or the most ready to transcend or transmute that energy, it's almost like when you go to war, you will be fighting against another oppositional, perhaps country or whatever it is. But in that final stage of war, when both sides are pushing and one starts to feel defeatism or as though they are losing ground, they push back the hardest that they can in that moment to try to keep their feet steady and keep their position. Yeah. And we would say sometimes negative emotions are the same way because of the way that humans go at them in pushing against them, in rebelling against them. They dig in their heels and they push back. They make their final stand or actually build in their intensity because of the way that you are dealing with them or handling them. When you move to a softening place of understanding your emotions, accepting and surrender, then there becomes this very natural letting go, and the negativity just dissipates, you see. So there probably is no question on the front lines as two are pushing together that one's about to fall. Yeah. And but they still continue to fight. They still continue to push. And we want to tell you that your emotions are the same way. If you continue to enforce or push against them and you do not surrender to them as a cause, as something that has come from your life experience, they will continue to have power over you and stay against you on that front line. So the best thing that you can do is know when you're starting to feel that defeatism is trying to change something or make something go away. And surrender is accepting, knowing, and letting go. And in that way, the war is over, isn't it?
Mhm, mhm. So getting back to what I was talking about as far as the process you say about going from a child to an adult and how it happens gradually, and that when you're soothing your human in these emotions that they're having, you might not notice 5 or 10 or even 15 times in, but all of a sudden one day you're going to wake up and think, oh my gosh, I don't have that anymore.
Yes.
And for me, I was just kind of observing myself, and not to say that I will never have anxiety, but in our family system, there was a lot of anxiety around health issues and eating well, and worrying that if you didn't eat well or you didn't exercise, that you would become sick. And I have to say that the older I've come, I've come a long way as far as not worrying about what I eat so much, or I exercise because I love it, but if I didn't, I wouldn't feel, oh my gosh, I'm going to get sick. So I feel that anxiety over that has gradually diminished for me. But another big one is that I have is frustration.
Mhm.
And the last probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks, I have really been trying to soothe that part of me. And all of a sudden, I just thought to myself yesterday, I don't feel the frustration like I used to feel it. So there really is truth in that it might take you a while. It might take you several times, but eventually the day comes where these emotions will release.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's true.
Yes, yes. So can you talk then, and maybe this is kind of about me, what I just said as far as awareness, but can you talk about awareness and the role that it plays in the awakening process?
Yeah. Well, we've talked in past recordings that primarily most humans come into the plane in the three lower energy centers, which is the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and then the solar plexus. And in those three energy centers of survival, one needs their ego, don't they? Yeah, they have to effort, they have to work hard. There is lust, there is not enoughness, there is the need to take care of oneself financially. So you have all these pressures, and these are the centers that you're perceiving from. So the only way that I can do that is in that level of perception or understanding is I have to effort, I have to work hard, I have to be better than everybody else, and I have to keep enough for myself. And then what happens when a human does that? They often don't like themselves in those ways, in their control, in their greed, in their lust, whatever it is that they have. And so they further separate themselves from themselves in the dislike of themselves, in what they have chosen as a tool to use to survive. And this is where you need to accept where you are. If you are at this place, it's not a bad place to be. It's a place everybody's been. and starts out at. Yeah. And so once you start to really accept and love yourself in your experience, you can have the opportunity to move up in a bigger observational way into the heart center. And in the heart center, some people, when they think of the heart center, they think of it as um, uh, something for everybody else, but it's actually something for you to start with. Yeah. So you move up into the heart center and you start to observe yourself, the way that you think and feel about situations. So you start to take the divine part, full consciousness, awareness, that's what your divinity is. And you start to observe the human in its unconscious state, in its pain, in its suffering, and perhaps what it's not liking in its life. And you start just observing it. This is the fourth dimensional reality. But with that comes condemning and judging. I see something I don't like and I'm doing it again. I know I shouldn't be doing that. I have to get better if I want to move up in my expansion of consciousness. But there again, that causes separation because we're judging and condemning again, aren't we? We should move to gratitude and appreciation just in the view of seeing how you're creating in your experience. Don't judge it. Don't condemn it. Wow, I just saw myself being greedy. I just saw myself in lust. I just saw myself in not enoughness. And just understanding that your human experience is revealing to you what your preference is. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And so as you move to that state of understanding, now you have the opportunity to align with the new earth or the fifth dimensional reality that is causing you some problems right now in just moving to love and observation of yourself minus judgment and condemnation. Now I get it. I'm a human living in third density. And there are going to be times when I'm going to emote in a way that, as I feel it with my senses, is uncomfortable. That's how we would describe it. And so as I get uncomfortable, I have a tendency to attach to emotion and become the human and then lower my tone and think that this is what I am when really the human is going to die and fall away. And so I start to build this understanding between the divinity part of myself and the human. And I start to realize that I've never been alone, that the universe has never been separate from me, that the earth and the universe and all of this is one thing working together. And it's by your side always when you are in your experience. So now I can move to just loving and accepting and soothing the human when it does slip into some attachment without judging, without condemning. Ah, I see you don't feel good today. You are a little angry. You're a little jealous. You're a little bit enraged. I don't blame you. I just saw what you went through. I just felt that charge of energy that you sent to me. I'm not worried about it. I've created a preference for you. It's waiting for you. Hang on to it as long as you want. I'm not rushing you to get over it. I'm not making you wrong for it. So as I start to move to this loving way of observing the human, it feels the love and it automatically drops the negativity that it is holding, and it comes into what you call, or we call, alignment. Alignment to your source is loving. I love my human for what it has felt, and I allow it in its free will to choose what it feels. And I have unconditional love for it as the source. That's our agreement. And in that accepting of each other, accepting and loving each other, the divine flow opens to me. Guess what? I'm not in third dimensional reality anymore. I'm in flow. Flow only comes in the fifth dimensional, a little bit in fourth, but it really comes in fifth dimensional reality. And flow means I don't effort in my experience. I don't worry. I don't have not enoughness. I know I am taken care of. I understand how I create. I know that I can focus in ways that I can bring abundance to myself. I know that when I'm in alignment, I am healthy. I start to get this knowing, this understanding of the power that I am. Life becomes a beautiful thing, you see.
Mhm. So I'm not sure I'm going to say this right or if it's going to make any sense to anyone, but on the earth plane, we have time and we say, oh, now the planet is at a time where there's enough souls that are evolving spiritually that we're ready for these higher dimensional teachings or realms. But from the non-physical perspective, there is no time. So how is that determined from there that we are ready for these evolvements?
It is a rate of vibration. It is not time. Yeah.
Okay. All
It is
right.
the transcending of negativity and the rise in consciousness, or the expansion, the openness that people are starting to perceive in, that just makes you aware of what's always been there. Yeah.
So from your perspective, you are seeing a raise in the vibration on the planet, and that's what makes you know that we're ready for this. Would that be
Absolutely.
accurate? Yeah.
Absolutely. And one in alignment, as we have said before, or one in connection to their source or to the flow, has the ability to trump. We can't even give a number to it, but the amount of awakened people does not need to equal those that are not awake or not vibrating at that rate. That vibration of it, the only way we can describe it is love, because it's a high vibration. When that is held, the power that it has is overwhelming to anything that it comes into contact with. So it has the ability to vibrate or make others start to vibrate with it just by being in the presence of it. It's the same way when we say, love yourself, and then you end up equaling your source and then opening the flow. And so as this love present enters the plane through those that have awakened themselves to flow, as this energy just walks by or comes into contact with those that are carrying negativity, it transmutes the energy. It's starting to lift their vibration.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Just a few words before we let you go. We have been doing Kundalini activations, and they have been wonderful. We've been having a lot of good success and a lot of good information coming out of them. Our next one is May 9th. That one, I believe, is at noon Pacific time. We have that on our website. If anybody is interested in signing up for that, there's still room in that session. And we also still have our member Q&A, where Athena does live channeling once a month, and we do bi-weekly written transmissions from Athena that come through the email. So we just wanted to make you aware of those things, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Heidi. Good day, everybody.
Thank you.